Think you need a degree to break into the high-tech scene? Think again. Miri Hess went from cleaning teeth to closing deals, all without a college education. In this episode, Miri shares how she overcame self-doubt, pivoted into high-tech, and built a career she loves. Don't miss her inspiring story. Hi, everyone. Today, I'm honored and excited to welcome Miri Hess to the Second Chapter Careers podcast. Welcome, Miri. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Miri is going to tell us all about her very, very unique career journey. Maybe you can start a little bit by giving us a bit of a background, where you come from, what you thought you were going to do, those kind of things.
Okay. Well, I'm originally from New York. I made Aliyah when I was 10 years old, so almost 20 years ago. Grew up in Ramat Beit Shemesh, which is primarily an Anglo community. So my Hebrew wasn't always wonderful. People think I got off the boat yesterday, unfortunately, or fortunately.
Me too.
Yeah, right. And I did cheerleading after high school in the hospital in Hadassah and Karim. And while I was there, I worked in a dental ward. And through that, I kind of found myself in my path towards my career, which was a dental hygienist. I went to dental hygiene school. So in this country, it's not a degree; it's a certificate. It's 2 years of school. It's through the Hebrew U, and I went and became a dental hygienist.
And did you enjoy that? You thought that was your long-term career path?
Yeah. I like being around the people. I like being with the people. So I enjoyed it when I was a dental hygienist. When I was a dental assistant in Shirat Leumi. And then I also enjoyed it, like working in it, just because I love being around people and I loved my patients. And it was honestly, it was great.
What type of clinic did you work in? Was it like a public health clinic or a private dental office?
So I worked only in private offices. So I had like really close relationships with my patients. They came very regularly. It was a very tight-knit staff. And I worked full time.
Okay. And just for maybe people who don't know, what does the day of a dental hygienist look like?
Yeah. So I'd wake up early in the morning. Our day usually started around 8:00, 8:30. So I'd get there a little early, set up the office, set up my space, my chair, and then start seeing patients every half an hour, another patient. Usually like a 7-8 hour workday, something like that. One of the perks was I never took my work home with me.
Yeah.
So no, really.
That is a big perk.
Great. It is really a big perk looking back, like, wow. It never came home with me. So once you finished work, that was it. You go home and you have the rest of your day.
Okay. So you're plugging along as a dental hygienist, you're enjoying the work, and then what happened? What made you feel I need something else?
So one of the pros of being a dental hygienist is you build your own schedule, which is really, really nice. And you're able to fit in other stuff and you have time for your family because, like I said before, you're not taking your work home with you. So once your day finishes, which usually my day would finish around 3:30 maximum, I was home, I went to my family, and that was it. One of the cons for me was that I got paid, sorry, this wasn't necessarily a con, but I got paid per patient.
Oh.
And if a patient wouldn't show up, then I wouldn't get paid.
Right,
so
but you're
that
still spending time there.
Exactly. So I had sometimes like holes during my day, and oh my gosh, it was painful. Just sitting there, it was really painful not being in control of my schedule in that way.
Just out of curiosity, what percentage of patients would you say don't show up? Would you say it's every day? Yeah.
You would be surprised. I worked in a really well-known American clinic, so I had really good patients for the most part. But sometimes, I mean, you have some people who are more like inclined, and they're just, wouldn't show up. But sometimes it's also out of people's control, obviously, if someone's sick or whatever. And the secretary tries to fill in that gap with other patients and, or try to finish your day early, bring the last one earlier if they can. So yeah, but when they wouldn't come, oh, that was really painful. It felt like someone was really wasting my time. I felt like I was wasting my time. Yeah, that was really tough.
Yeah. Do you know, is it standard for dental hygienists to get paid per patient, or that's just how your office was?
No, it's standard.
Reminds me a little bit of flight attendants that don't get paid until you push back from the gate. So you could be sitting on the tarmac for 3 hours and they're just not getting paid for that time. And it really, it hurts the passengers, but it really hurts the flight attendants also.
Oh my gosh. I actually had never knew that that's how it worked.
Yeah.
That is very painful.
Yeah. It's really crazy. Okay, so back to you though. So you didn't get paid for the patients that didn't show up. And okay, what was the straw that broke the camel's back that made you say, I need something else?
A combination of that. So a combination of just wanting to be in charge of my fate or my salary. Because I had months where I made a lot of money and I had months where I didn't make a lot of money. If I was full all the time, I made pretty good money, happens to be. Per hour, I was making a lot. But when you add up all those times that you're sitting around, like, it doesn't add up as much.
Right. It's probably also hard to budget when you don't know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Totally. I had good months, I had bad months, and it hurt so much that it was never like consistent. I'm like, I just want some consistent, or I just want to be like in charge of my, like in charge of my fate, my own, like I wanted it in my own hands. What was the straw that broke the camel's back? A combination of that and seeing my husband's bonuses that he would get from his work.
What does he do?
He works in sales.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that because when you have bonuses, you're also not totally in charge of your own paycheck. You have to rely on, whether someone's signing that month or not.
That's true. However, in the world of tech, you have a base salary, which that's global. So you're gonna get every single month, no matter what. And the bonus, that's in your own hands, how hard you want to work. Obviously, a little bit if it's not, but that if you really want to, make more money and do better, if you work harder, then usually that's what the outcome is.
Okay. Before we move on, I just wanted to ask if you're not shy to say, just for anyone who might be thinking about becoming a dental hygienist, what is the salary range for a dental hygienist, if you happen to know?
It's really dependent on if you work private or if you work in the public sector. If you work in a coupa, then you're not going to make as much working
Obviously.
Private. It really ranges. I would say probably on the low end. If I had to take a guess, on the low end, someone's making 8,000 or 9,000 shekel. And on the high end, maybe around like 18,000.
Okay. Just to give people some kind of idea.
Yeah.
I guess nobody really thinks about how much other people are making. But I want to
16.
give,
Yeah.
I want to give people ideas of thinking about different types of careers. So
I think it's important to be
might be helpful.
transparent. Yeah, no, I think it's really important and empowering for people when people are transparent about numbers, actually. It's very empowering, not just for women, but for people in general that want to make more money and want to level up. It's very helpful when you know what your peers are bringing in.
Absolutely. So how many years did you work as a dental hygienist before you said, I want more?
I did it for 5 years.
Okay. And And you saw your husband was making bonuses and you said, I want that. So what was the next step that followed after that thought?
So it was scary because I didn't have a degree. I always laugh because I'm like, I know half English and I know half Hebrew, but I don't have one full language. Um, but I think the fact that I didn't have a degree was really, for some reason, it hurt a little bit. It wore on my confidence. It wore on my confidence. And I just didn't believe that someone like me who had always worked with their hands can do something technical and be in front of a computer.
So how did that come to be? How did you take that low self-esteem or low confidence, lack of degree, and find the right job for you?
So I already had decided that I wanted to do something in sales. And I had heard about a course from a friend of mine who had taken it prior. It's called Sales Class. Have you heard of it?
The Nefesh B'Nefesh one?
Yep.
Yes. Were you eligible for that even though you didn't come with Nefesh B'Nefesh? Or you did
So
come with Nefesh
Israeli,
B'Nefesh?
I came with Nefesh B'Nefesh, but it's not just for Nefesh B'Nefesh Olim. It's not even just for Olim. Israelis take the class. I took it. There were a
Okay.
few Israelis in my class. It was a fantastic course. I highly, highly, highly recommend it to anyone that wants to transition into the world of sales, specifically in SaaS, so software as a service. So people that want to sell tech. It gave me all the soft skills that I needed in order to apply and find a job and start at a job. It helps you with networking. You meet people through the course. They have networking events. They help you find a job. And it really taught me a lot of skill, like just even skills, forget about sales, but like, for example, how to write an email and I mean, now it's sales, but how to pitch a product. So a lot of really good skills to just have in life.
Right. First of all, how long was the course?
It was really doable. I did it while I was working. It was 1.5 months, and it was twice a week at night.
Nice. Okay, that definitely does sound doable for anyone who's thinking about making that change. And when you were in it, were you surprised by different things you learned in the class that you said, "Oh, I didn't know that was part of sales," or not really?
I was like surprised. Actually, it's funny because I don't know if this answers the question or not, but looking back, and this is recently, I was like looking back and I'm like, wow, when I first started, we learned how to create a slide deck, right?
Right.
And I had never done that before in my life.
Right, because why
And
would you?
Exactly. And I had never used, and we used Google Slides, which is pretty simple and easy to use. And I remember freaking out. And I'm like, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. And I had a meltdown. And it was like, I'm like, if I can do this, I can do anything. And looking back, it was a Google Slide. And it was so hard. And looking back, and I'm like, now I can do it in my sleep. That stuff was easy. And we learned how to cold call. I'm like, easy. And it's just funny when you're learning new skills and to look back, and they were hard in the beginning, but now you can do it in your sleep.
Right.
So
That's a
what was
very,
the
very
question?
valid point. Yeah, no, it's a valid point. Would you say that people in the course felt empowered also like you did, or people were like, ooh, cold calling, I do not want that?
It really depends on your personality, I think. But I would say majority of the people felt empowered because it's not natural to cold call somebody or send a cold email. Like these aren't natural things. You're kind of going against your inner intuition and your inner what's the word I'm looking for? Social skills.
Hmm.
When someone is ignoring you, it's socially acceptable to be like, okay, I'm bothering them. But in the world of sales, it's like, no, they probably don't realize what my product can do. They probably haven't seen my email. or answered their phone or looked at my LinkedIn message, or maybe now the timing's not right, or and, and by the way, they're all valid things. It really could be that, not that someone's not interested, but that they haven't seen your email, or the timing wasn't right, or they didn't have any budget, or there's so many reasons. And then you just gotta like find a way.
Right. Okay, so you take the class and you're really loving it, and then what happened after that?
So I took the class, and some people were applying for jobs during the course. I waited till the end, but from when I started applying until I got a job was very, very, very fast.
Because they
And
helped you, or because you're a natural?
no, I think I'm a natural. They 100% help you if you need. And they sent some options my way, but that happens to be what I found. I found on my own, and I set up interviews for myself, and I found a job very quickly afterwards.
Okay, and for people who are not familiar with the sales world, I happen to have worked in sales for over 10 years, but for people who don't know what that's like, tell us a little bit about maybe what it's like to be a new salesperson. And also maybe if you think, this is just a personal question about your own opinion, but do you think that companies are eager to hire new salespeople because they can start them out lower at a lower salary rate, and that may be an advantage to someone who wants to break into this field? Or no, you did not feel that way or think that way?
Well, there are a few advantages, by the way, to being at the bottom. Because once you're out, there's nothing lower than the bottom, right? But it's what you said. Companies can start you out at a lower salary, but you can also move around once you're in the company. So you can start out being a sales development representative, which in theory is like the bottom of the totem pole, but you also can make a massive impact at the company. And once you're at a company that they know you and they like you, you can move around if sales is not for you.
Mm-hmm. In what ways would you say?
People can move to the product team. People can move on to the marketing team. There's really the delivery team. There's so many different departments within tech. And once you're at a company and again, they like you and they're familiar with you, then they a lot of times won't have a problem moving you to a different department if it's not working out.
That could be very encouraging for people who are unsure whether something's right for them.
Yeah,
That's good
100%.
to know. Okay, so are you still at the first sales job that you have, or you've moved around since then? And how long has it been since you made that change?
So I've been at PeerSpot for 2.5 years. Same company, same company that I started at. I really like it. Something that's really important to look for when you are interviewing is that there's a good company culture. The people that you're going to be working for and with, that you like them, that you enjoy being around them. I happen to have a great team. The people at our company are really wonderful people. Our CEO is a very nice mensch of a guy. And I truly just feel grateful that I was given the opportunity. And I've picked up so many skills along the way.
That's beautiful. Very, very nice.
I have nothing but good things to say.
Okay, so tell us about what the average day of a sales rep looks like. And maybe also what hours you work if you have to work, let's say, American hours or European hours or whatever.
So I work with the US. So what our day looks like is we'll usually work a few hours in the morning and then a few hours in the evening, which for a working parent, which is majority of the company, that works out great because then you're able to be with your kids in the middle of the day. And they're very family friendly, which is also helpful. So what that would look like is I usually get into the office around like 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Every day? Like you have to go in every day?
Twice a week.
Okay, that's also great.
It is really great. So I go in twice a week on Mondays and Wednesdays. What that looks like is I'll get in and there's a really nice kitchen. So I have a nice coffee, or there's like yummy yogurt or cereal or whatever. And then I go to my desk and I start prospecting accounts, which means that I'll start looking for individuals that we sell to in companies that we sell to, and then putting them into it's called a cadence, which is like kind of different touch points that we want to reach out to them. So that could be in the form of email or cold calling them or LinkedIn. There are a lot of different ways you can reach out to people. And then I'll get all organized and I'll schedule out my emails so they go out at whatever time zone these people are in. So, for example, if they're in North America, I'll schedule out my emails so they hit their inbox at 9 a.m. And then that's pretty much my morning. And we get 10 beasts, so we order lunch. It's really nice. You hang out with all the people in the office. That's also fun. And then I drive home usually around like 2:30, and I'm home for when I'm able to pick up my kids and be with them in the afternoon and do dinner and bedtime and whatnot. And then I hop back on usually around 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, and then I could go till like 11, 12.
Mm-hmm.
So and those hours are for calling. Sorry.
Right. And everybody on the sales team works those hours, or not
Yes.
necessarily.
On the sales team, yes.
Okay.
Like,
You want to?
yeah.
Okay. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what PeerSpot does? Just give us your elevator pitch so everyone can see your awesome sales skills.
Ooh. PeerSpot is a review site for enterprise tech, and we focus on demand generation and content creation. That's the short elevator pitch.
Okay.
But yeah, in theory, what we do is we collect reviews and then we use them in order to create content for marketing teams.
Great. And do you have specific benchmarks that you have to hit? Is there a lot of pressure in the job?
So that is one thing about sales that I will say. There's a lot of stress, pressure around hitting your quota. That is how you are judged. You are judged on your quota every month. You are meant to hit certain marks. So for someone that's at the bottom or someone that's an SDR, which doesn't necessarily always mean the bottom, there are people that make careers out of it. I happen to really enjoy it. You have a certain amount of meetings that you're supposed to book every single month for the account executive. And then the account executive takes the meetings and they're supposed to close the deals so that they're closed ones. And then that's money in the company.
Mm-hmm. And so basically what you're saying is if you're an SDR or maybe even a business development representative, if you're not the one who's doing the closing, you may be judged on that person's final sales skills in a way. Is that stressful
sometimes.
for
you? No, you're judged on how many meetings you book. That person, the account executive, he's going to be judged on how much money he brings in.
Okay.
So
and are
in
you
theory, you're opening up opportunities for the account executive, and he has to close those opportunities.
Okay. Are you still working as an SDR?
So actually, yeah, I started as an SDR at PeerSpot, and then after 6 months, I got promoted to being an account executive. And I did that for a while, and then the war started, and my husband went to Miloam, and I had to juggle being a single parent and my job, and my husband being like in Gaza, and it was just a really trying period. But the truth is I did not enjoy it nearly as much as I enjoy being an SDR. So then I went back to being an SDR and I worked on larger enterprise accounts.
And you're liking that now?
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any skills from being a dental hygienist that you would say are transferable to the tech space, specifically to sales?
Yeah, 100%. I think being comfortable talking to people, being very comfortable, just having a conversation, making small talk, and just being around people was definitely a transferable skill.
Did you think about that in advance, or just looking back on it, you're like, hey, I did have that skill?
No, I knew it would transfer. I knew that I like to be with the people, and that I think the people like to be with me. But yeah, no, that one I definitely knew would it transfer. I also just some people have like a inner like hustle, and I knew that that's something I could bring with me as well. And also just a competitive edge. It's always good to have like a healthy competition and
Yeah.
being competitive and trying to like beat others, beat yourself, you know. So that kind of thing always helps.
I guess not everybody likes that, but I happen to be one of those people too.
I could see
What would
that.
you what would you say is the hardest thing about being in sales?
The hardest thing. Probably the stress. Yeah. The stress is hard. Q4 is stressful. That Q4 is the end of the year or the end of your fiscal year where you're trying to bring in as many deals as possible and get all that extra cash in the company so that they can close out their year and say, this is how much we made. So Q4 is definitely a very stressful time.
I bet. I don't miss those days actually.
Yeah.
What would you say is the best part about working in sales?
The best. Being like more the master of your fate is like one of the parts that I think in particular for me I appreciate because of where I came from, where I wasn't. And being a part of the tech scene, so this is not necessarily sales, but being part of the tech scene is very, very exciting. They don't call us the startup nation for nothing. There are incredible companies coming out of this country, and to be a part of it, I is incredible. It's incredible. We're a very innovative country, and Israelis, a lot of the founders of these companies, they're smart, smart individuals. And when you work in places like these, you're surrounding yourself with other smart individuals.
And feels good, huh?
Yeah, it's very cool. It's very, very cool.
You probably also see a lot of cool things because you're getting reviews of other companies, so you see other cool companies too, no?
We work with a lot of our customers are like some of the biggest cybersecurity names on the planet. Like it's very cool to like make an impact and also bring money into the economy, you know, for Israel and feel that that's your part that you can do.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
What happens to people who don't hit their quotas?
Ooh, that's not fun. It's not good to be those people. No, I'm just kidding. Well, they try to help you out if you're not hitting your quota and try to see where the problem is and, you know, where you can be better and all that. Ultimately, after a while, if it's not working out and you're not hitting your quota, then it's probably time to leave. But I think you yourself, if you are not hitting your quota and you don't feel like you are making that impact, instead of waiting to be let go, I think you would ultimately start looking on your own. Yeah.
Would you say just for people who might be considering it but are scared that they won't hit their quota, would you say that not hitting your quota is because you're a weak salesperson or maybe the product is not the right fit or the company? Would you be able to say that? Because you've been in the same place the whole time. So clearly you're very good at hitting your quota, but I'm sure you've seen others who may not have.
It really depends on the company. It really, really depends on the company. You could be at a company that everyone knows who you are. It's easy to book meetings, and you just need to put in the work. And then you could be at a company that isn't, and it's hard, and the product isn't necessarily the best product, or there's not a good product market fit. And there could be a million reasons, or maybe you're not cut out for sales, but there could be a lot of different reasons why you're not hitting your quota. It's not necessarily you always.
Okay, so people shouldn't necessarily give up just if the first job, let's say, isn't a hit.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. I think that could probably be true for every industry, by the way. Your first job is often tough. Um, so that's just something good to keep in mind, I guess.
Yeah, 100%.
So if I can ask about your finances now, obviously you don't have to tell us how much you earn, but would you say that you've reached your goal of being more in control of the finances and reaching more things than you were able to do as a dental hygienist?
1000%. It's very different. But then you get greedy. I'm just kidding.
That is a risk, definitely a risk.
Yes. No,
And
but
would you,
it's nice. Like I don't know, in this country or in life, you could have there's so many like things that could come up. I'm like finances, especially living in Israel, it's hard. Buying a home here is hard. So, the life, I mean, don't get me wrong, schooling's cheap and healthcare is cheap, but everything else is expensive, and it's just getting more and more expensive. So at least that's something to not have to worry about, which is nice.
and you would say, for you at least, it's worth it to work, to take your work home with you because of the financial benefits it provides.
Yeah.
Are there ever times that you can't work at nights because you have an event or something, or parent teacher night? I mean, your kids are still young probably, so maybe that doesn't apply, but let's say a wedding or a something, memorial, I don't know, whatever, that you can't work at night. And then what happens then?
Yeah. So there's definitely like, you have life, things happen. Take a night off here and there. You can deduct it from your vacation days or have a very understanding manager and make up the time elsewhere. It's not very often that it happens. I mean, I don't work anyways on Sunday nights because in the US, everyone's off on
Nobody
Sunday.
works.
So it's 4 nights a week. It's 4 nights a week. And if you need to, then you take the time off. But usually I don't need to.
Okay, so now that
If
you
a
mentioned the
child's
4 nights,
sick, then you do sick day.
all right. So now that you mentioned the 4 nights a week, I have to ask, in a normal high-tech job in Israel, the average work week is 45 hours. How many hours is it for sales if you're only working 4 nights? Do you have to work more hours in the mornings, or it's just 40 hours instead of 45? What does that look like?
I don't know if it's just me, but I don't think most salespeople are looking at like their hourly, like how long they're working. Rather, they're looking at their quota if it's being hit. And that sometimes can take, I don't know, like let's say 40 hours a week, or it could take like 60. I don't it really, you're trying to like hit your quota at the ends of the day. So I wouldn't say I'm like really focused on the hours. I work on Sundays as well. In the US, you don't work on Sundays, but on Fridays, I don't work.
Right. Okay. What advice would you give to someone who might want to make a big shift like this? What's the most important thing you learned about yourself, about the process?
I've learned so many things about myself, like over the last 2.5 years. Um, it's crazy. Just reflecting back on like the last 2.5 years of my life, how much has changed for the better, and how many skills I've picked up, and not just technical skills like writing an email, but rather also people skills. Being in an office setting, and being professional, and having good relationships with everyone around you, and making it a comfortable space. They're all very important things to keep in mind and to have.
Sounds like you
So
had those before.
what?
It sounds like
It's
you
all
had those skills before because you were also doing office comfort and setup in your previous role.
kind of, but my other office was like more of a homey kind of vibe, where people are coming for like a medical treatment, and this was like more corporate, right? So it's different. The same jokes that you would make in a home office won't necessarily stick in a corporate setting. And I've learned a lot about myself and about that corporate world, like in the last 2.5 years. And what I would say to someone who is looking to break in or make it a change in their life or in their career is to not be afraid and to take chances. And one thing I've learned in sales, and I apply it also to life, is to shoot for the stars. Really shoot for the stars. Not just when you're negotiating a deal, but when you're negotiating for your salary, for vacation days, when you are interviewing and you are talking about yourself and you're hyping yourself up, you shoot for the stars because you're your own best advocate and no one else is going to advocate for you. So those are all really important things to keep in mind and to really not be afraid to take risks. You know, the worst thing that can happen is someone will say no to you.
Right.
But yeah.
That's a really, really important lesson and a good one for any industry,
Yeah.
really. Would you say that you need a thick skin to be in sales, or it's something you can develop?
You do need a thick skin. The job is about 99% of the time you hearing the word no, and then that 1% that makes it worth it of yes. And you get such a high when you like book that meeting. Oh my gosh, because you hear no all day. So you definitely do need a thick skin, and you need to love hearing the word no.
Do they teach you that in the class, or you have to come with it?
Oh no, they teach it. You learn all these things in the class. I truly cannot recommend it enough. The teachers were fantastic.
Is it live or it's online?
It is online, but it is live, like it's over Zoom.
Right. But you're not going
It's not live in person, correct?
Right. Gotcha. Okay. And for anyone interested in going into sales, how important would you say taking the class is? Like, you can't go into sales without it, or you can, but you may not be as successful. What would you guess?
I had a friend who recently was asking me the same question, and this is what I told her. You don't need the class. You could go off on your own, and you can apply for jobs, and you may or may not get interviews, and you may or may not get through those and get to the next one, because it's a lot of interviews. It's not one interview, and it's not two, and it's not three. It's usually 4, 5, 6. There's a lot of interviews till you make it to the end. If you take the class, you will have the soft skills to start. You will feel more confident. You will know how to conduct yourself in the interviews, and your chances will be far greater at landing those offers versus not. Now, I'm not saying it's not possible. It's definitely possible. You can get through it and you could land yourself an offer. You could get a job. It's possible without doing the course, but you're going to have a hell of a lot of time easier if you do take the course.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, since you mentioned this rigorous interview process, maybe you could draw us a picture for anyone who might be interested. What does that look like? What does each step of the process look like?
Well, to start, you really need to not put all your eggs in one basket. You need to be applying to every single relevant looking position that you see, because likely the first, second, third place are probably going to say no. So you just keep applying. And even if you're in the interview process in one place, you could still keep applying until you hear a yes from someone, until you have an offer actually from someone and they've sent you a contract. It usually starts with you interviewing with the HR or the talent acquisition people that call. And then if you get through that, they'll put you usually in touch with the hiring manager, so the one that would in theory be your boss. If you get through that, they usually put you to their boss's boss. Then you'll talk to like the VP or director of the department. And then if you get through that, then you sometimes can meet with the CEO. Sometimes usually you'll have some sort of test you have to do, whether that's like a cold call simulation or prospecting, writing emails, something along those lines. And then the last step is usually meet with HR again, and you negotiate your contract. Before that, you have references. So they want references from past jobs to make sure you're not a sociopath. And then, and then you finally get an offer sent to you, and then like I said before, shoot for the stars. If you want a base salary, I don't know, of 18,000 shekel, then you should ask for like 20 or 22.
I think that's the same in any industry. No?
Right, but don't again, no one's going to advocate for you, and if you lowball them, they'll accept your lowball because they're not advocating for you, and they are happy to get away with paying as little as possible. Any company would. So you want to shoot for the stars and the moon in the sky.
Always, I think. It's a good skill for always.
Yeah.
All right. So I think you've given us so much to think about. I just wanted to ask two final questions, maybe. If you had to do it all over again, is there anything you would do differently about this career path?
I probably would have done it way sooner. I wouldn't have waited so long. I waited because I wasn't confident in myself, and I didn't think that someone like me could work in tech. And I always thought that if I wanted to work in tech, that I needed to do something technical, like be a programmer or a developer or something along those lines, an engineer. And I didn't want to go back to school, and I didn't want to do any of that. And I didn't realize that there's a whole world where there's sales and there's marketing and there's HR, and there are so many departments that are not technical that you can succeed in and be amazing in. And you could get in if you have the right skill set.
I think a lot of people don't know that. So it's a really good reminder to really check your opportunities and really ask around.
100%.
All right. So final question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years from now professionally?
Professionally? If it were up to me.
Of course it's up to you. You shoot for the stars.
That's right. I'd be in a sales position, maybe management position, and just deeper in my sales career, honestly. It's
You see yourself
something I want to
taking
invest
this
in.
on the long road.
Yep.
Are there ways to invest in this career by further education, or it's just mostly on the job training once you're in it?
It's on the job training, and you can do you can always better yourself and do courses and kind of like learn new skills. So like become better at like, let's say writing emails or leveraging AI tools in order to make your job more streamlined, things like that. So you definitely can always be learning. And I think it's like just an important like thing to always, in general, in every aspect of your life, just always be learning.
I totally agree. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us
Pleasure.
and to share your insights and your experiences. And I hope you crush in the next quarter.
Thanks for having me.